in 2014 there were heavy fighting. In 2015 there was also heavy fighting with the battles of Debaltseve, for example, large-scale battles. In 2016, these large-scale battles were gone, but there was still quite a lot of mutual artillery shelling from both sides with heavy artillery. However, by 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, this artillery shelling was really down to very low levels, and the number of casualties on both sides were very low. You keep hearing from Russian propaganda today repetitions about 14,000 killed civilians in the Donbass area by the evil Kiev regime. This is what the Russians claim. The figure of 14,000 is from a UN report that states the losses on both sides by the so-called separatists and the Ukrainian forces during the conflict from 2014, so including that initial phase with the large-scale battles. The number of civilians killed was somewhere around 2,500, again on both sides. So if we are going to look at how many civilians were actually killed in Donbass, that is probably somewhere around 1,000 people, and that was also during those initial years of heavy fighting. In 2017, 18, 19, 2021, we're talking about a number of 150, 200, 300, maybe 400 people, and actually very tragic. But these are the deaths that Vladimir Putin used to try to justify his invasion of 2021 in a war that has now cost certainly more than 150,000 lives, maybe somewhere up to 200, 250,000.
Yeah, I think the rate has been quite tremendous. And I suspect, although there's much less made of it, even on the Ukrainian side as well.
Oh, that is no doubt that is the case. Both sides have not coming clean with official numbers, figures. I believe the last official figure from the Russians was after 3-4 weeks of the war, when they had admitted to 5,000 or 6,000 casualties. But ever since, we have not heard any new official figures, and that is naturally for propaganda reasons. During the war, it's not good for morale for any side to
there was
reveal
the case, and I forget his name now, a Ukrainian general last week, I think, spoke to the press about the ill-equipped or large numbers of ill-equipped Ukrainian soldiers being sent into battle with virtually no equipment and even less training.
Yes,
which mirrored, of course, what's been happening on the Russian side of the frontier.
Absolutely. It is a war of attrition, and there are many comparisons being made, especially after all the video footage of the extensive trench systems that have been dug in the Donbass, comparing it to the First World War, which was also a typical war, not so much of maneuver, but rather of attrition and artillery and trenches. So there are certainly a lot of similarities. Naturally, drones and other modern weapons have been added to it, but I believe that if some soldier from the Western Front of 1916 could have been transported through some time machine to the front in the Donbass, he would probably recognize many of the elements of what is going on over there. So this is also why the Poles have been so adamant about making sure that the Ukrainians receive more equipment, more military aid. They know that this war will be decided not so much as in the old days by just the number of men, but it is really access to heavy equipment that is key. Those that have pro-Russian sympathies in the West, they keep talking about, well, Russia is 150 million people. They have a military tradition of sacrificing large numbers of men, using these human wave tactics, so to say. But they rarely admit to the fact that on paper Russia had more than 10,000 tanks when the war broke out. But they don't admit the fact that those tanks have been standing often not even in some garage, but out in the open on various fields in Siberia, and they had
rusting away.
They had 30 years of rain and hail and all types of the elements fighting against them, and they were nowhere near to be able to neither move or even being in a state in which they could be repaired.
Adam, sorry, I'm going to have to... The clock in the corner of the room is doing its usual blinking at me, so I'm going to have to ask you to pause there, but fear not, we'll pick it up next time. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not, if you join us next time, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story here on Poland Daily History. In the meantime, thank you for watching.